Hi guys, a few of us Irish food bloggers decided to celebrate Syrian culture by posting authentic Syrian dishes using the hashtag Ireland Cooks for Syria, so our audiences could recreate them at home and use them to welcome their new Syrian neighbours to the neighbourhood. This video is for the national dish of Syria, Kibbeh bin Sanieh, with a tahini sauce. Kibbeh can be cooked in lots of different ways and served raw, but this particular way is a bit like a really fancy, spicy Middle Eastern meatloaf, and it's so delicious. It's basically a layer of minced, spiced beef surrounded by finely minced lean lamb and baked, and it's so good. Start off the day before by soaking some bulgur wheat overnight in some water. By right, you should have some fine bulgur wheat, but all I could find was this coarse stuff, so don't worry, I'll show you how I sorted that. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups of bulgur wheat, but for those of you who are sticklers about weights, this came to 300 grams, just slightly over. Then add 250 millilitres of cold water and allow it to soak overnight. Then the next day, take 2 large peeled onions for the filling and dice them up. Add them to a bowl and set them aside until later. Now take a spice grinder if you have one and add 2 or maybe 3 inches of a cinnamon stick to it, or else just use half a teaspoon of the pre-ground stuff and add 2 teaspoons of black peppercorns or a teaspoon and a half of pre-ground black pepper. Then blitz it up until the whole spices become a fine powder. Grinding your own spices like this at home is so worthwhile, it makes such a huge difference to your cooking. Now just reserve the ground spices until later. Now add a little olive oil to a cold pan, maybe a tablespoon, and add 500 grams of lean minced beef. You can see that there's very little fat running through that mince. Now cook it over a low heat for quite a while. As you break it up with a wooden spoon, you want it to be really crumbly. Once it's all coloured, go ahead with your ground cinnamon and pepper. Add a good teaspoon of coarse sea salt flakes. Next, you're going to add some Baharat or Lebanese 7 spice or Arabic 7 spice, just not Thai 7 spice. And add 1 good teaspoon. This is a blend of pepper, coriander seeds, cinnamon, cloves, cumin, cardamom, nutmeg and paprika, which if you're paying attention you'll know is more than 7 spices. I'm not sure what that's about. I think 7 spices is just a blend of all of these, and it could vary a little bit from region to region. But just mix it in well and then go in with your piles of chopped onion. I know that might seem like a lot of onion, and that's because it is. This onion is going to cook down though and really sweeten the whole dish, and it's going to be so nice. Just cook it really low and slow until the onions are soft and kind of translucent. Then set it aside while you roast your pine nuts. Do this by adding about 2 tablespoons of butter to a pan and piling in 3 or maybe 4 tablespoons of pine nuts. Let the butter melt over a medium heat and stir fry the pine nuts in the melted butter until they just start to take on a slightly brownish colour. Then remove from the heat, turn the heat off and bring back the beef. Then pour over the melted butter and pine nuts, mix it in well and let it cool completely. Now make the kibbeh by adding 2 onions to a food processor, these onions are just quartered, and blitz until really finely chopped, almost pureed. As they're blitzing, take the bulgur wheat that's been soaking. It should have absorbed all the water by now, but if not, just pour off any water that's unabsorbed. Now add it to the onion to blitz up so that it'll be like you used fine bulgur wheat. Take it off once it's reached a nice, even consistency. Now take a large mixing bowl and add 1 kilogram of very lean, very finely minced lamb. Now pile in the blitzed bulgur and onion mixture. Give it a very quick mix now, just to help to mix it later on. Now add a generous amount of sea salt flakes, about 2 teaspoons. Followed by another teaspoon of Baharat, that's 7 spice mix. Now go ahead and mix it all up with a spoon or a spatula at first, but you're really going to have to move on to your hands eventually. There's no better tool for this than your hands, because you'll really feel when it's all combined and when there are no more pockets of hidden lamb or bulgur anywhere. Now set it aside for about ½ an hour for the flavours to develop. In the meantime, you can prep your tray or your Sanieh. I'm using a loose bottom tray here, so for that reason I'm going to line it with tin foil. But if you have a proper pie dish, just use that instead, it's no big deal. Just make sure you get into all the corners with the tin foil. Now make the tahini sauce. This takes no time at all, and start off with a lemon. And add the juice of half of it to a bowl. Make sure you fish out the horrible seeds. Then add 2 generous tablespoons of natural Greek yogurt, followed by 3 tablespoons of tahini, then 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, a pinch of sea salt flakes, and then whisk it up until it's smooth and combined. It'll be too thick at first, so loosen it with a few splashes of cold water until it's a flowing consistency. So I got this sauce recipe from Instagram from a page called @Nadine's Kitchen and Eats, and it's filled with beautiful Middle Eastern food. It's definitely worth checking out. I'll put the link to that Instagram page in the description below. Once the sauce is the consistency you'd like, taste it to check it for seasoning and adjust if needs be. Then decant it into a nice serving jug and serve at the table. Now assemble your kibbeh bin Sanieh by pouring about a tablespoon of olive oil into the tray and rub it into all the sides. Next, take your lamb mixture and build a thin layer of it on the base of your pan, making sure you bring it up the sides of the tray. Once it's all done and looking smooth, take your pan of minced beef and pile it into the middle. Then flatten it all out and add another layer of the lamb mixture, almost as if this is actually a tart, but instead of pastry, you have minced lamb and bulgur, and instead of fruity filling, you have spiced beef. Once that was all done and sealed up nicely, I had about this much lamb left, not much at all. Maybe just about enough to make a burger for yourself tomorrow. Now divide the kibbeh into portions. I'm making a lot of portions because my tray is really big, and I'm using a spatula because I thought a knife would cut through the tin foil underneath. If you have a regular tin with no foil, then just use a knife. Now drizzle over 2 tablespoons of olive oil to keep it really moist. And finally garnish the kibbeh by dotting each segment with 1 pine nut. Once that's done, transfer it to a preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius and bake for about 30 minutes. Then take it out and let it rest for 5 minutes before you portion it out and transfer to a serving plate or a chopping board. Then just dish it out and serve it with a big pile of fattoush salad and a little drizzle of that tahini sauce. And if you were up for it, you could do a full Syrian meze. Your friends will think that you're totally badass. I'll put the links to the videos of all these recipes in the description below if you felt like having a proper authentic Syrian dinner party. Thanks a million for watching, guys. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. For more Syrian recipes done by Irish food bloggers, search social media for the hashtag Ireland Cooks for Syria. See the description below for the link to my blog where you'll find the full recipe at www.rookiecook.org.